In an old Buddhist village, there was a big hermitage dedicated to Buddha. There was a famous Buddhist monk who lived in that hermitage. One of his disciples would not stop talking. He would constantly talk non-stop about whatever was on his mind at the time. When he went to collect donations, he would bring a new story from every house and tell it to the other disciples of the monk. He would talk bad about his fellow disciples. He would gossip and try to look good in front of the others. He would brag and always try to prove that he was the smartest and best disciple in front of the monk. He talked bad about his fellow disciples. He gossiped and tried to look good in front of others. He bragged and always tried to prove that he was the smartest and the best disciple in front of the Buddhist monk. He considered himself different and superior to all the disciples. He used to say, "My parents are rich. If I wanted to, I could have lived a comfortable and luxurious life. But I decided to give up everything in the name of Buddhism. That is why my sacrifice is greater than all of you." One day the Buddhist monk called all the disciples of the hermitage and told them, "All of you should set a goal for the next month. This will strengthen your power of determination and instill confidence in you. All of you can set whatever goal you want according to your capacity. And if any of you do not fulfill your goal within 1 month, you will go back to your previous routine." All the disciples set big or small goals according to their capacity, and left after telling the Buddhist monk about the goals they had set. But the disciple who wanted to show himself better than the others went straight to the Buddhist monk's hut and said, "I do not want to set a small goal to fulfill in 1 month. I want an ambitious and grand goal like me. Please tell me what goal I should set for myself. I want an ambitious and grandiose goal like me. Please tell me what goal I should set for myself." Hearing this, the Buddhist monk smiled and said, "You will be able to fulfill the goal I will give you. Will it be possible for you to complete it? Probably not. You will not be able to complete it. That is why you must set your own goal." The disciple said, "No, monk, I beg you to give me a goal. Whatever goal you give me, I will fulfill it." The monk said, "Well then you will be silent for the next month, not a word will come out of your mouth. That is your goal." The disciple said, "Monk, is this my goal? It is very easy, to remain silent for a month. Give me a bigger goal, which is up to my capacity and for which I have difficulty in reaching." The monk replied, "First fulfill the goal I have just given you." The disciple obeyed the monk and remained silent. At first it was very easy for him to remain silent. He spent 1 day in silence, but from the second day onwards, the burden of not speaking began to increase in his mind. On the 3rd day, he began to feel heavy, and on the 4th day, he began to feel a strange anxiety. As all the disciples of the Buddhist monk were talking among themselves, and he also wanted to participate in the conversations. He wanted to speak, but his determination prevented him from doing so. A few days passed and the disciple became sick. He had a severe headache, he didn't feel like eating or drinking, he just wanted to talk. He went to see the monk, sat down in front of him and wrote, "Monk, I want to talk. I can't breathe without speaking. I am choking. I feel like I'm losing my mind. What should I do? Should I break my goal?" The Buddhist monk smiled after reading this and said, "Goals are meant to be broken. But he who fulfills his goal strengthens his inner strength. And he who strengthens his inner strength is on the path of power and awakening. Accepting the goal was in your hands and breaking it is also in your hands." Many of the disciples have broken their goals and have returned to their previous routine. If you cannot do it, you can also break with your goal and return to your previous routine. But remember, if today you cannot manage this small goal, how can you manage the rest of your life? How will you be able to handle the rest of your life? The decision is completely in your hands. These words of the monk hurt the pride of the disciple. He left without saying anything and locked himself in his hut. He left the hut only for the essential and spent the rest of the time in silence. 15 days had passed and most of the disciples had not fulfilled their goals. But his goal was still standing. After taking the goal of not speaking for a month, until now he had not uttered a single word, all the disciples were surprised by the silence that the disciple maintained. He spent the days talking non-stop. After 15 days, he went to the Buddhist monk again and wrote to him, "Monk, I am silent on the outside. But there are many voices inside me. There is a lot of whining and complaining. I keep talking inside my mind and asking all kinds of questions. The quieter I am on the outside, the louder I am on the inside. My goal is still standing." The Buddhist monk answered him, "Yes, You have not yet fulfilled your goal. But as long as these voices reach your ears, your mind will keep on talking, because you have the habit of talking. You can be silent on the outside, but you will keep on talking on the inside. You should stay away from these things and these voices. The disciple left after thanking the monk. Then, he left his hut in the morning and went to the forest. Many days passed and his goal was completed. But the disciple did not return. All the disciples were afraid that some wild animal had devoured him. Meanwhile, many efforts were made to find him, but there was no trace of him. The other disciples assumed that the wild animals had made him their prey. But the Buddhist monk did not think so. One day, another disciple went to see the monk and said, "Monk, what happened to our companion? Did the animals kill him?" The Buddhist monk answered, "The animals may have made him their prey. But there could be another reason why he does not return. Perhaps he got what he went to look for." The disciple asked, "Monk, is it so harmful to talk too much?" The monk replied, "It is often said that one of the many difficulties of being human is the inability to remain silent. We constantly feel the need to talk, even when it is not necessary or when it may lead to negative consequences. A significant part of our problems stem from our tendency to talk too much. Many arguments and conflicts are caused by talking too much. We all want to be heard, but we often don't listen to others. Instead, we focus on expressing our own opinions and convincing others that we are right. This only leads to more confrontation and resentment. This pattern of talking and not listening continues throughout our lives, causing unnecessary stress and problems. In this ignorance of talking for no reason, we waste our time, our life, our understanding, and most importantly, the precious moments we could live, experience and enjoy. And what do we get in return? Nothing. We learn nothing when we are constantly talking. We also do not create genuine relationships or listen to others. Only a few people realize what we lose by not closing our mouths when it is not necessary to say anything. The disciple asked, "Then, what is the solution?" The monk answered, "The solution is to remain silent when it is not necessary to speak. We should observe our thoughts, be aware of them and take control of our mind. This brings miraculous changes in life." After this answer, the disciple solved his questions and left the place. 3 months had passed since the disciple left the hermitage and there was no news of him. The Buddhist monks had lost hope of his return. One day, to the surprise and happiness of all, the disciple returned. She was not the same person who had left. She had undergone an incredible transformation and emanated a sense of calm and peace from her being. Her face radiated tranquility. As soon as he arrived, all the disciples approached him asking where he had been and what he had done. He also began to talk to the other disciples. They all sensed that he was no longer as impatient and talkative as before. Every word that came out of his mouth flowed softly and sweetly, saying just enough to communicate what he desired, saying just enough to communicate what he wished. After talking to the disciples for a while, he turned directly to the Buddhist monk and said, "I am still silent. My goal has been accomplished." The monk looked carefully into the disciple's eyes for a while and said, "Yes. You are still silent. Not a single word has come out of your mouth and your goal is still standing." The disciple answered, "When I left the hermitage, I was silent on the outside. But there were many voices inside me, many questions in my mind that would not stop. So I went into the forest hoping to find peace. But the deeper I went into the solitude, the louder the voice inside me became. I started to hear the voice inside me. That's when I realized how wrong I was when I used to talk bad about my family, friends and Buddhist monks. At that time, I felt I was saying the right things, even when I was gossiping and making fun of the Buddhist monks. I felt I was better than them. But that day I realized for the first time how wrong I was. For a long time, those voices and complaints continued inside me. But gradually, all those voices disappeared from inside me. Now I am at peace inside. In that dense forest there was no one to talk to and there was no voice left inside me. I understood the true meaning of silence for the first time. That day there was peace all around me. Now I could appreciate the beauty that surrounded me all this time in the forest, the sound of the wind, the singing of the birds and the sound of the flowing water. For the first time, I heard all these sounds with full awareness. Never before had I felt such peace around me. Dear monk, I had a conversation with my fellow disciples and with you. I am talking, walking and observing everything around me. Yet, I feel completely isolated and silent. Even when I try to express myself, I still feel completely isolated and silent. Even when I try to express myself, I still feel completely isolated. Now I can see everything clearly and hear everything more clearly. The Buddhist monk said. The restlessness within us is caused by talking too much on the outside. However, when we turn inward, we remain calm, no matter what we say. We say that most of the evil in the world originates from our speech. Because we fear silence, we talk more than necessary and fail to listen to others. Instead, we interrupt them to try to give ourselves unnecessary importance. This becomes the purpose of our lives. And all our energy is wasted in meaningless conversations. Such a society is full of sadness. Because people do not listen to each other or try to understand each other. They do not know the value of silence. Because it makes them feel small. The reason behind all the battles in the world is our meaningless speech. Therefore, we should speak only what is necessary to understand each other. Unnecessary talk never allows us to go inward and always drags us outward. If we wish to direct ourselves towards our inner world, we must keep our mouths shut. That is why all the Buddhas who became enlightened ran into solitude, to avoid talking too much and listening too much. They remained calm in solitude. This allowed them to travel inward with ease. Even while living in this world, we can live in solitude and remain calm. But to do so we must conserve our energy, which we waste on meaningless words. But to do so we must conserve our energy, which we waste on meaningless words. The lesson of this story is that idle talk is a waste of energy. Those who wish to travel inward must keep their mouths shut. In this way they will find the space and energy to discover all the inner richness that awaits them. I hope this video has been useful to you and you can apply it to live a life with more richness and meaning. If you liked it, leave your like and subscribe so you don't miss more content like this. Thank you very much for making it this far. See you soon.